Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio and tonight's YouTube Live. My name is Lisa Curcio, and I'm so excited that you've joined me. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you're returning, I'm so glad that you've come back. I've got a fun fold card for you tonight that has a witty twist on it. It's got a taco image, and you might be thinking, a taco. Lots of fun. And I'm going to be sharing a new stamp set with you that I'm having a great time with. Now, a couple housekeeping items before we get started. First and foremost, it's a question I get asked quite often, so I wanted to address it during tonight's live. After the video is over, my assistant Megan and I will come back and we're going to provide a link down below the title of this video. That's called the video description. Now, you're not going to be able to see it all because it tends to be rather lengthy. You'll see the words show more, and you'll need to click those words in order to expand the text. And if you scroll down, you'll see a link that will navigate you over to the pictures, cutting dimensions, and all the supplies for the projects that I'm going to share with you tonight. That's the same on all the videos that I create, whether I'm live as well as when I'm recorded. Okay, the other thing I mentioned was Megan, and I want to introduce you to her. Megan is my assistant. She's here to help interact with you while I'm busy stamping because my head's down at the stamp table. I do come back and read and reply to every single comment, but it's hard to keep up with those conversations while I'm stamping because that's what you came here to see. And then finally, I want to remind you that if you would like to interact with us during tonight's live, we would love to have you log into your YouTube account, which is your Gmail address. That is the way that you can chat with not only me and Megan, but with everyone else here live. Okay, I think that's it. We're ready to go. I'm going to turn the camera down to the stamp table, get you all focused in, and we'll get started. Here we go. Okay, and I'm going to zoom you in. If you just give me a second to get the camera nice and straight. There we go. I want to make sure I'm good inside your view. I do have an iPad, or an iPad, I should say, off the corner of my desk so I can see your view. I'm going to be using my paper trimmer for the first step of what I'm going to be doing here. Now, I absolutely love this trimmer. You'll be able to find this in my online store at lisastampstudio.com. There is a dark blade that is for cutting and a light blade that is for scoring. And they're going to navigate up and down out of the way for storage so you can keep them on the clear track at the same time. I absolutely love this. Look at that. Great little spot for you to hang in your stamp room. And this extends. I'm going to show you that in a second. There are non-skid feet on the back, of course, at the top and on the bottom. And I love the clear cutting guide because you're going to be able to measure on both sides of this, making it really easy. There's a clear protective cover on here, so you do not have to worry about that ever rubbing off. Now, I'm sharing that with you because we're going to be doing some scoring on here, and I wanted to explain how the blades work. This is 4¼ by 11. Again, if you're just joining us, you're going to find a link below the title. You'll have to expand the text to get all the cutting dimensions for today's fun fold card. We're going to do 2 score lines, nice and simple, no funky dimensions. The first one is going to be at 3 inches. I absolutely love this ledge here at the top because it allows me to make sure that my cardstock is nice and straight, making sure that that cutting track, the blade is up out of the way, and here's that scoring blade I talked about. And at the 3-inch mark, we're going to make the first score line. Now I'm going to slide this over to the 7-inch mark, and you're going to notice that it ends here, at about 6¼ and that's where this arm comes into play. Don't you love that? I love that it's very sturdy. You don't have to worry about it wobbling. The next score line, now I've got to look and make sure I made my score line in the right place. So we made the first one at 3. I'm just lining this up because I moved my paper. And the next one at 7. And again, with the light blade, which is scoring, just checking my measurements, and then we'll score that again. So we've got 2 score lines on a very traditional cut piece of paper. Let me set my trimmer off to the side. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to reinforce these score lines. You know what? I decided I'm going to change that up a little bit. I'm going to leave it flat because I think it's going to be easier for you if you're going to duplicate this at home. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach some designer series paper. Now, typically and intuitively, we do this usually after we do all of our cutting and scoring, but we're going to change that tonight. And I'll show you why in just a minute. So this designer series paper is from a really fun packet. This is from Bonanza Buddies. Now, this is the generic side. You're going to see that this side has more of definitely a younger child type birthday flair. I don't know about you, but I would love this myself as an adult. But the papers are double-sided for almost all of the papers that we sell in my online store, and that gives you lots of options. So if your card is not themed for a child, you have lots of options to use it for other themes. I'm going to be using it this way tonight. And since I'm going to be adding adhesive to this, I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet here. I love this because adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to it. I'm going to flip this upside down. This is going to be my wrong side tonight, and I'm using my snail adhesive, and I'm going to work around the perimeter of this. I want to tack this down. Very important, you're not going to want to place any adhesive in the center because it's not going to serve you well for this fun fold and the cutting that we're going to be doing. So here is that piece of cardstock we already scored. Now I want to mention to you that these are not equal score lines. So you're going to put the designer series paper here on the shorter end. So you're going to see that this is a smaller end here. And then I'm going to take my paper and I'm just going to mirror this, leaving a small margin all the way around. And once I'm happy with the placement, we'll go ahead and tack that in place. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be creating an opening here. And I'm going to be using the layering circles dies. Now, I absolutely love these because I cannot cut a circle to save my life. They're never straight. And I love the graduated sizes. You can see how many there are. But in addition to these, you also get these. These are the scallop circles. And we're going to be using numerous of these for tonight's card. So you can see how versatile these are. I love, love, love these. I have these in squares and ovals as well in my online store if you're interested in those. Okay, so the next thing I did was I pulled out the circle that I wanted to create. And if you're going to duplicate this at home and you're wondering, this is the largest regular plain circle from this die set. Okay, I'm going to bring in one of my clear cutting mats that I put aside here because I want to show you how I did this. Now, this is going to be for my die cutting machine. Yours probably look very similar to this. I'm going to recommend that you look visually for the center. Oftentimes people like to measure. I'm going to be honest with you, that's just too much work for me. I'm all about the paper crafting fun. But if you like to be precise, you certainly can measure. Now I'm going to hold this up so you can see a little bit better. Can you see that score line that I created right here? Maybe not in the video, but it's there. You're going to want to make sure that the cutting edge of your die is down in the center. So what I like to do is I like to look visually from the top and the bottom and get a better view of how it's going to be centered. I'm going to try to bring in a little bit closer. And of course, the cardstock's really long and I don't want it to end up in my Stampin' Scrub, so bear with me. I'm also looking to try to keep equal space on each side of this. Once I think it looks about centered, here's an important tip. You want to anchor the die to the cardstock because when you go to pick this up, if it's not already on your die cutting machine, it can shift. And even if it is on your die cutting machine, it can shift. And you need as exact placement as possible without measuring. So I love to use these. These are my little Post-it note flags or tabs. They won't mar the paper, but they will hold the die in place. And keep in mind, the dies are very thin. So I'm looking here at the center and I'm like, well, that's about centered. And then I'm going to tack this one down to hold it in place. And I'm looking here and here to make sure if I have to shift it. And then I've got another one here. And then I will put this on top of my clear cutting mat, this one over the top, and then we'll run this through the die cutting machine. Now, just to save time and not moving tools in and out, because the die cutting machine is sizable, I did do that ahead of time, and that left us this. So we have a big open circle here. Now, this is going to serve us very, very well for this fun fold. So this was that crease that we talked about. So I'm going to fold this down and I'm going to use my bone folder now to reinforce those score lines. There's also that other score line that we did here at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and reinforce that one as well. And this now is going to fold down to be our card. Now, I am certain that you're probably wondering if this is going to fit in a standard envelope. And the answer is absolutely yes. It's an A2 envelope when we're all finished. But something has to go here, obviously, right? So that's where these dies came back into play. And this time I chose one of the scallop shapes. And I die cut one ahead of time. And I used the exact same color cardstock as the base of my card. I found for me that this blended and looked more pristine, more finished with these two pieces being the same color. That doesn't mean that you can't make them different. Experiment for what you're looking for. If you're looking for a bright, really fun card, for someone who is having a big milestone birthday or for a child, maybe you'll want to do that. But I found that this was more seamless having them the same color. The very first thing we're going to do is we are going to add some more adhesive to the area here where that piece is going to go. I did try adding it here, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of went too high and then it extended past here. So that didn't work for me. Now, if you're better at that than I am, then that's certainly an option. So seeing that I'm working within this circle area, I know to keep my adhesive here. I'm going to bring that silicone craft sheet in again. That keeps my work surface from being sticky free, and I absolutely love that. So you're going to see I'm stopping a little bit short of each of those areas, and I'm coming down here. Now, I don't know if you can see the adhesive or not. It's a little bit shiny. I think you might be able to. Here is that scallop die. You want to make sure that the card is closed. Do you see it here? Because you want to make sure that you have proper placement. This is going to extend, and that's going to gravitate that extra room that we need for the envelope. And then once I have it centered inside the opening, I'm just going to press that in place. Okay, and I'm going to show you how this fun fold works in just a minute. This needs some embellishment, doesn't it? And that's where my taco comes in. Let me move that off to the side. I did also die cut another circle from that same die set. So super versatile purchase. And this is thick Whisper White cardstock. And if you ever watched my videos before, you know if I say it's going to be thick Whisper White cardstock, it's a guarantee. I'm using black memento ink, which is a water-based ink, and I'm going to be coloring with Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers. Check out my taco image. Isn't this cute? Here's one reason I love it. It's different, it's a fresh image, and there's very little work involved, so very little coloring. And we're going to do that together, but I want to share this stamp set with you. It's called Witty-Cisms. I shared a video with 3 different ideas using this strawberry image just 2 days ago. If this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, go back over to my channel videos and check that out. I used it 3 different ways to give you ideas. I'm having a ball with this because there's literally something for everything in here. Even graduation, I know that a lot of stamp sets don't have those. So I've gone ahead and I've pulled out that taco and we're going to ink this up. This is a brand new ink pad. I've got a confession to make, so it's good and juicy. And I'm going to stamp that here in the center. I'm going to go just a little bit lower than normal because I've got a purpose here at the top. Now I'm just taking my stamp off camera to clean that. And I'm going to set that to the side for right now because I know that's really wet because that's a new stamp set. And I'm sorry, a new ink pad. I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock here. This has been pre-cut that's going to fit in the inside of my card. Remember, those cutting dimensions are going to be below the title. And for the inside of the card, I chose the words, "Another Sensational Year of You." So I'm turning this into a birthday card, and you'll see. Now, that greeting comes from a stamp set called Sending You Thoughts. And I want to point this out. Do you see the words "Celebration"? That's an indication that this is a free option to choose during Stampin' Up's largest sale of the year. So if you're looking for this and you're wondering where I found it, it's going to be in the sale brochure. For every $50 that you spend from now through the end of March 2020, you can choose a free product in here. And this is one of the ones that I chose. Now, for those of you with a larger wish list, there's other products in that sale brochure too at a $100 value. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up, and I'm going to stamp that sentiment here at the top. Okay, there we go. And I'm adding that off on my scrub too. That's a little wet. I'm going to set that aside. Again, that's a fresh ink pad. Now I'm going to add one more piece of designer series paper to that card we've created. And this designer series paper is from that exact same package from that first piece that we used, Bonanza Buddies. Isn't this fun? Lots of options. And you can see, even though the other piece had an image with the party animals on the other side, this one definitely has an image that you can use all year round for all types of people for birthday cards. So I'm going to take this and I am going to flip this over and I'm going to add adhesive to the back side. This time I'm going to work closely to the perimeter of this because I know this is a fun fold card and I am certain the person who's going to receive it is going to have a ball just opening and closing that. And I'm going to add that here to this bottom panel. So I'm going to lift this up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this here. Do you see what I just did? It's called a Lisa mistake. All right, I'm going to teach you a trick. You know, when you're live, you can't make up for mistakes. But you know what? We all make them. So I want to show you something. If you've ever done this and you stuck something down and it shouldn't go there, okay, I'm going to give you two tips. The first one is if you have a heat tool, use it on the lowest speed and be very, very careful to heat up the adhesive and it will peel right off. Tip number two is what I call the Darth Vader technique. You are going to take your breath and you are going to huff near the cardstock, and the moistness and the heat of your breath is going to release this paper. I know you're probably thinking you're kidding. It works. Okay, so I have to hold it up a little closer to me, so you may not see this, but I'm certain you're going to hear me. Look, off it came. All right, so we're going to salvage that. I'm not sorry I made that mistake because I love teaching you guys things that you may not have known. All right, so I'm going to add this here to that panel. I got a little excited and added that first. All right, that's better. And then now we're going to have to go ahead and add a little bit more adhesive to that area because I just covered it up. So remember how I told you we're going to add it here. I'm going to add tape within the perimeter of that opening, not going too far. And that circle now is going to go here. I'm looking to align it within the circumference, not too low. That's going to be really important for this fun fold to open. And then just rub that in place. Here on the front, I want to add a greeting to help coordinate the entire card. And from that exact same Witty-Cisms stamp set that I just showed you, there are words that say happy birthday. So I'm going back to my Mental Black ink pad. I like to open this up because I find that if it's double folded, sometimes it moves on me. And I'm going to stamp that right here near the bottom. There we go. And I'll take that off camera and clean that. I'm going to cap that ink pad because an open ink pad around here is also a recipe for disaster. All right, do you see how the circle travels through the opening that we made? That's why it's super important you don't go too high because then it won't pass through there. All right, let's go through and finish up the decorating and the adhering of the inside. Remember our image? We're going to do very little coloring. Now you can use dye-based markers, you can use colored pencils, obviously you can use watercolor paper and watercolor. But since this is so small, we're going to do this together and we're going to do it really quick. I'm going to be using the light Granny Apple Green Stampin' Blends markers. The tips are dual-ended, and since that's really small, I'm going to go ahead and use that chisel tip, and I'm going to color in a little green here. There's very, very, very little of that lettuce. And then I'm going to switch over now, and I'm going to use the combination of the light and the dark, and this is the Daffodil Delight to do my taco. Again, I'm going to use the chisel tip. Well, I changed my mind. Let's do the thick side. It'll just go a little faster. And I'm just going to color in my taco. I'm going to have a corn shell. So I'm going to make that yellow, a little bit back here. Nice and easy. You do not have to color the entire image. If you have some areas that are left white, it's totally acceptable. This alcohol needs to evaporate a little bit. Oftentimes, when you're using alcohol markers, we have a tendency to be a little overexcited, myself included. Let that evaporate. The next layer of color, which is more intense, is going to need to be able to lay on top of this one. So I'm going to come to the darker shade, and I'm going to add a little color along one side, a little here. I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit, just so we've got a little bit of little extreme going on, so we can add some shading. Again, it has to evaporate. So while it's doing that, I'm going to add a little color underneath my taco. And I'm going to use the light crumb cake. And I'm going to use that thick tip again, and we're going to add just a little color underneath there. So we've got a little bit of a surface for it. Now that that's had a few seconds to evaporate, I can come back to that thick tip, and I am going to pull the dark into the light. This is how you get that really cool blended look. Take your time. Take good care of your markers, and they will last you a super, super long time. All right, so that's going to take a couple seconds. We'll let that evaporate. And while that's going to happen, we're going to take that greeting that we stamped for the inside. And this now is going to go on the inside of the card. So I'm going to take my silicone craft sheet once again, and I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to add adhesive to the back. Good on the sides, good on the top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up this fun fold. So this comes up, and watch, this is going to come down. This is where I'm going to put my greeting. Now, if you don't like it there, obviously you've got all of this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip. The reason I left that blank is because the area at the bottom is absolutely perfect for a gift card. The dimensions are perfect. Add a glue dot to your gift card and stick it here. Not only is it going to help weigh down your card, it's going to be a great presentation for your gift card. Now I'm going to take this And I'm going to flip that over. That bleeding through those alcohol markers is very normal. It should look like that. That's one reason why I really like that thick Whisper White cardstock versus the regular white. You're going to find that that is actually going to blend better and it's going to give you a more vibrant color. It needs something for me. You know, I love accessories. So I want to show you what I did. The designer series paper from this stack includes some really, really fun patterns. Now, this can be purchased as a bundle with a coordinating stamp set and dies. But did you see this toucan? Not only do the dies cut out some of these images, but this little party hat was screaming it needed to be added to my card. So I know some of you are probably thinking, no way. Yeah, I just chopped it up with my scissors, took 2 seconds, literally. I'm going to add that here to my silicone craft sheet. I've turned that upside down, and I'm going to use my mini dimensionals. These are already made a lot smaller for you. I've got my take your pick pickup tool, which is going to help me lift this. Love that. It's got interchangeable tips, and this is the paper piercing tool attachment. I can't live without it, I'll be honest with you. That helps me pick up these small pieces. I'm going to center this right here on the back, and I'm going to remove that paper backing. Okay, now that it's sticky, it's easy for me to pick up. And let's add that party hat to the taco. I'm not done yet. I got one more step for you. I could not resist using these assorted little pom-poms. These are all part of that birthday designer series paper I just shared with you, the Bonanza Buddies. They coordinate with the colors of the paper. So you can just go crazy choosing what you want. But I want this pom-pom to really stick out. So I'm going to go for one of these little poppy parade color ones. Now I'm going to recommend that you consider using liquid glue and then letting it dry. But since you're with me in the video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a glue dot because we're just going to speed things up. So I've got a glue dot here. I'm going to peel the paper back so that you can see it. I've got my little pom-pom, and then I'm going to stick that right on top of that glue dot. Glue dots are nice and strong and they work great for your paper crafting projects. I've got my take your pick tool again. I've got that paper piercing tool attachment. This thing is wonderful. It just picked it right up. And this is going to go right here at the top. So we have a little pom-pom on our party hat. Isn't that adorable? Oh my gosh, so fun. Okay, so let me zoom you out a little bit so you can actually see how this works. All right, so here is our fun fold. It comes up and it comes down. Isn't this great? Oh my gosh, so, so fun. And then look it. You've got a really fun presentation. If you want your gift card in here, you absolutely can do that. Isn't this great? This is a great fun fold, not just for something whimsical like this, but also great if you want to do something a little bit more feminine or even something for the guys. The presentation is going to have them opening and closing this over and over again. Now, let me turn the camera around. I've got a couple other things I want to share with you. Oh, I hope you like it. I enjoy reading your comments. Thank you for the kind words. Now, a couple things before we go. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I would love to encourage you to do so. Make sure you click that small bell next to the subscribe button because I want you to get notifications, not just when I share a video, but when I'm live, because I'm coming back live with you on Monday in just a few days. And I've got another fabulous card to share with you. Head over to lisasstampstudio.com. Sign up for my e-newsletter. It is a no-frills e-newsletter. I send you a free tutorial with a picture and step-by-step instructions every week. It'll go right to your inbox, just more ideas for you. And if you would, share this video with your crafting friends. It's the highest compliment you can pay me. I also want to let you know that if you want that sale brochure or either one of the current catalogs, I would be more than happy to send them to you complimentary. All you have to do is head over to lisasstampstudio.com and click on Contact Me and just provide that information there, and we can get those out in the mail to you. These are sent priority mail, so they get to you really, really quickly. Thank you, Megan, so much for your hard work. And I have one more thing to share with you before you go. I'm reaching for that stamp set. If you like this stamp set and you think you might get some use out of this, I've got more ideas for you. I have uploaded a group of tutorials that will be there tomorrow for Witty-Cisms. And there are 4 different projects there, not this one, but 4 other ones. You have more ideas. And those tutorials include step-by-step instructions, multiple pictures for each of the cards that I create, cutting dimensions, and lots of supplies for you. Lots of resources over on my website. Thanks, Megan, for all your hard work. And I look forward to seeing you back with me in just a few more days for another YouTube Live. Have a great night, everyone, and thanks.